Neera Tanden, who was the nominee to head up the OMB under the Biden administration, has been withdrawn. Technically, she withdrew herself because that's always how they do this, but her withdrawal marks the first high-profile defeat of one of Biden's nominees. 13 of the 23 cabinet nominees requiring Senate approval have been confirmed, most with strong bipartisan support. Acknowledge, though, that we're more than a month in, and he still has like half of a cabinet. And by the way, some people, including Josh Hawley, the reasonable guy that the left should try to work with because he's a populist, has voted against every single one of Biden's nominees. But he says it's not because of some sort of knee-jerk opposition. All of them were on the merits. Every one of them randomly on the merits he found unacceptable. But anyway, here is what Neera Tanden had to say. Unfortunately, it now seems clear that there is no path forward to gain confirmation, and I do not want continued consideration of my nomination to be a distraction from your other priorities. She wrote this in a letter to Biden. The president, in a statement, said he has the utmost respect for her record of accomplishment, her experience, her counsel, her Twitter activity, I'm joking, and pledged to find her another role in his administration. And I get it, but like nothing says uniquely qualified to head up the OMB like, we'll just find you some other position. But anyway, I get it. They want her in the administration. JR, what do you think about the fact that she actually did end up getting beaten?
Yeah, I don't know why. I feel like things should always come to its full conclusion. And maybe that's just the way politics works in this country. And you can't just actually see the results of the process. Hey, if enough people are gonna vote against Neera Tanden, have the vote. I never understood why we have a vote before we have the vote. Isn't that what the vote is for? To have the vote? Not to talk about having the vote before we have the vote so we can determine who's not gonna vote for you. And then after we determine that, we just don't have the vote that we're trying to have. It's so ridiculous. Have the vote and let people be on record saying what they wanna say and what they wanna, how they want to vote on Neera Tanden. Instead, we have this weird back and forth where Neera Tanden has to put out a statement acting like she made the decision to withdraw her name from this, when in reality, the administration did because it's not going to work out. And they need her to say, hey, Mr. Biden, I think I should pull my nomination because it just doesn't look like it's going to work out. And then Biden has to respond and go, hey, yeah, you're right, Neera. It doesn't seem that way. I accept it. And you have great expertise. Let's stop with this back and forth. You weren't gonna get it. We panned for it, we looked for it, you tried to campaign for it, it didn't work. Just say that, have the vote and let them finish it off. It's a waste of time to me to have these weird back and forth letters between two people who are trying to work together. Why are they having back and forth letters like they have no contact? Like you're writing a letter from Albany and it has to get sent all the way to St. Louis or something. It's so weird. I'm horseback. I don't know.
Because it's all about the image. We have to manage the damage. It looks bad for them. So let's make it as if she decided. No, I'm sure. And by the way, look, am I a personal fan of Neera Tanden? Obviously not, but she wants the position. I get that. She doesn't want to pull out. She was told to pull out, I'm sure, and probably told do this and we'll find you some other position or whatever. I mean, the fact that it was so focused on her tweets, I think was a little bit weird. I personally think that many of the policies that she's championed would have been a better reason to not support her for OMB. It seems like sort of a dodge to make it about the Twitter activity as if Republicans give a damn about people being rude on social media. And by the way, I say that as a leftist, and there's almost no one she was more aggressively like virulent towards online than progressives. But I don't know, that sort of seems weird, that being the reason for it.
It's easier to convey because we know we're in this hyper angry state in the country, which people say that's the way it is now. It's the way it's always been. But anyway, we're in this hyper angry state right now. So then, it's easy to say, hey, look at her tweets, because that's palatable. But if you say, hey, look at her policies, look who she spoke with, look who funded her, which of course, establishment Democrats nor Republicans will say any of that because then you can start implementing any of them for the same things. So they won't do that. They have to go for the things that the majority of people will look at and go, ew, that's right. When in reality, there's far worse things that she had done.
Totally. It's sort of like how apparently like a bunch of Republicans in Texas hate Ted Cruz now, but it's because he left for Cancun rather than because he supported overthrowing American democracy. And so like, I guess whatever gets you there, but it seems weird that it was this one. But that said, it was pretty entertaining. So why don't we go to a quick little reminder of the back and forth that was had over her social media activity.
You wrote that Susan Collins is, quote, the worst, that Tom Cotton is a fraud, that vampires have more heart than Ted Cruz. You called Leader McConnell Moscow Mitch and Voldemort, and on and on. I wonder specifically, how do you plan to mend fences and build relationships with members of Congress you have attacked through your public statements?
Senator, I very much appreciate that question. I recognize the concern. I deeply regret and apologize for my language and some of my past language.
Okay, so again, when she wasn't doing those tweets, she was viciously attacking Bernie Sanders supporters. So let's acknowledge that. That said, JR, some of those are pretty funny because Susan Collins is 100% the worst. Ted Cruz does suck, and the vampire stuff was good.
Voldemort.
Those were her best. That's the best stuff she ever produced right there.
I honestly, the Republicans need to stop pointing it out because those are the things that make me want her to get in. I'm messing around. No. So in reality, those are the things that she said, which loads and loads of other people said on Twitter. It's Twitter. Because they can't focus on her policy. They can't focus on her approach, the way she would handle OMB. It's just, you can't do that because then you'll start shooting yourself in the foot because that's where they agree with her on. They have to go with the other stuff. And this is all they got. And then sometimes when you hear it, I'm sure a large majority of people will hear that and go, okay. Because everyone doesn't watch those hearings that closely. They just watch their Fox Newses and their CNNs and find out what was said. And then what they'll give them is a quick little wrap up of what was said. Instead of us hearing him act like he's offended by those very, very tame tweets about calling people names. And how do you plan on mending fences? You know the way you answer that question? I don't plan on mending fences because you guys won't accept it anyway. So let's just go forward with what we're gonna do. Did it help that you said, I appreciate that question, Senator? Yeah. And in fact, I profusely apologize for those words. Did it work? Just stick with who you were gonna be.
Because they don't care. Yeah, nobody's thinking in America. Nobody's like, I have positions that I hold, but I am always willing to update them with new information. There's like one grad student that thinks that way, and that's about it for America. No senator certainly is getting in there with that sort of view.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.